Yo, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dead Lemons Podcast.
You always have to say like
Dead Lemons Podcast. What are we, episode?
It's like episode 6
or something like that?
No, but the last two I've noticed every single time you go Dead Lemons Podcast.
All right,
you always hit that hyphen.
Okay, we'll do it again right now. All right. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dead Lemons Podcast.
Oh, try more NPR. How about that?
Welcome to the I almost said the NPR.
We are not.
Welcome to the Dead Lemons Podcast. I don't know.
Is that how NPR does it?
I don't know. I haven't watched it in a long time, so whatever.
Is it like more of like a smooth transition into it?
Welcome to the Dead Lemons Podcast.
I guess that works.
Anyways, another Wednesday that we missed. It's okay. We're figuring things out. Life is going on. Life has been moving quite at a decent pace lately. I can't talk. Lately. Me, I've got nothing really new, but it was kind of interesting because I have a motorcycle now, and I was riding around, and I feel like a cool guy. So
motorcycle, huh?
Yeah, it's not as convenient as having a car, but it worked for the time being.
Yeah. I mean, you chose to have a motorcycle when there's barely any traffic. Interesting. Right?
Well, there's some places that still have traffic.
Well, if we're talking about like Los Angeles standards, then it's barely any traffic.
Yeah, fair. But so no, just work. Oh, I spilled COVID all over the place.
What's the protocol for that anyway?
Bleach.
Lots of bleach, really?
Yep. Bleach kills everything. So
that's true.
Fortunately, it was.
First of all,
all the tests had already been done on it, so they were going to be discarded anyways. Otherwise, it would have been a huge problem.
Oh, now was there anything positive in that?
There were 2 positives in that one. Out of like 18 test tubes,
and where was this batch from?
I cannot say.
Yeah.
VIPs.
VIPs?
VIPs.
Are they from like... Nah, I won't say it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are only a few labs that deal with certain things, and I'll probably explain this to you offline. But yeah, so even if I gave you a general gist, they could still narrow down which lab it came from because there's not very many of us.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd assume every lab at this point is trying to cash in the COVID testing.
They are. It's just not because they're VIP, like famous people type status.
People we don't need.
Yeah, basically.
First of all, why are you getting tested for COVID if you're just to stay in your mansion the whole day?
Well, no, these guys are more out and about.
Like athletes?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do enjoy watching the NFL, so maybe just I'll give them.
Shoot, as long as they don't politicize it like they did with the NBA when they came back, or the.
Yeah, can you believe that I don't know if you've been following, but they postponed a playoff game.
Yeah.
Just to protest what's going on in Wisconsin right now.
Yeah, but their views are going down like crazy.
NBA? I mean,
all of the NBA and baseball. Baseball tried doing the same thing, and their views spiked when they first went on, and then immediately dropped because nobody's there for freaking politics, you know. So
I always think to myself, like, do you guys understand your audience? Like, they're just there to watch sports.
They don't care about their audience. They care about their message.
Like, if you think about, I guess I'm on the side where I can say, sports isn't really that essential, but it's fun to watch.
Of course.
But you watch, in my opinion, you watch sports to just tune out.
Exactly.
The world.
Yeah. You don't watch sports
Don't bring it back, dude. Let me just watch this guy push a ball through a line and let me just cheer like a dumbass.
Yeah. There you go.
Like, it's just dumb fun. Don't bring politics into this. Come on, guys.
Wow, so saucy right off the start.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's just me.
So how's your week been? Or I guess 2 weeks, technically.
It's been fine, Just been working in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly enough, I can't really say too much, but I was under the impression going back after my long hiatus to probably something out of like that Korean movie The Flu.
Yeah.
Or like the emergency room is just like in constant panic, but no, that's not what I experienced.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, like everyone's constantly just beating it in my head that like
you and a few others at hospitals have been all saying the same thing.
It's bizarre, really. It leads you to wonder, like, how bad is this COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. If you, and maybe if for whatever reason some of you listening are in the medical field, maybe you can relate to this. But if you're actually inside the medical field in one aspect or the other, you start to realize, oh wait, this is not what they're saying it is, and it just makes you question, like, okay, well then what the hell, you know? Because I'm in the lab testing stuff, and the numbers are not what they say they are.
Well,
and
you probably can't tell me, but how... You don't have to give me a percentage or a ratio or number, but what not like, I guess that's technically a percentage, but like, do you see more positives or more negatives?
Far, far more negatives.
Since we've type of margin,
it,
though?
Huge, like more than 60-70%. Like basically, to put it this way, so we test roughly about 1,500, maybe 1,800 different people, their bile swabs a day. And so since we started doing this, which has been about 2-ish months ago, we've only had about 20 positives. So that's...
How long have you been working there?
A little over 2 months.
Just 20?
Yeah.
Where are these
doing about 1,500 to 1,800 a day.
Where are these numbers coming from then, huh?
Telling you, man. Things aren't the way they seem to be.
Well, then again, we're just talking from my perspective. It could be worse somewhere else. But still, even then, being California and being a highly dense, area, you would think there'd be more cases since we're so tightly packed against each other.
Nah. And here's the thing, too. Even if there were a ton of cases, what ultimately matters is how many people are dying from it. And right there, the numbers, even the numbers that are a little sketchy because there's not much evidence and there's some negligence there as well. In California alone, we've had about 12 or 13,000 deaths compared to the total population. That's nothing.
That's not really.
It's just,
I still think the influenza numbers are higher.
Yeah, well, they are. So, bing, bing, bong. Anyways.
Bing, bing, bong.
Time for Whiskey Corner with Jen and Matt.
Whiskey Corner?
Whiskey, I don't know. Whiskey segment. Whiskey thing.
All right, you want to tell them what we're drinking? You're better at presenting.
I was going to drink it first, but okay. Here we have today the Sheen Malt Whiskey.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw up an image on the video for this.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So at least you guys have an idea. Because for all we know, like, since they're hearing it from an audio perspective, they probably just think we're just clinking a bottle of water. Classic.
Oh yeah, that is true. No, we're pretty delinquent enough to actually be drinking. So
delinquents
or alcoholics, I guess. Whatever. Anyways, Japanese oak finish, product of Japan, obviously. Another 48%. However, from what because Jan actually bought this a while ago. And,
I bought the last two, so screw you.
No, we went halfers on the last one. Did we not? Yes, we did.
I paid full on that one.
I could have sworn I sent you Venmo. Oh, whatever. We'll double check the facts later.
The one before that you did. I bought the last two.
Okay, maybe.
So next one's you.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I'm done with that. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Non-chill filtered, additive-free, yakety schmack. Nothing really interesting.
Okay, you don't have to break down the chemical
Yes. Anyways, beautiful color. 48%. Hopefully it tastes better than the other one. Jan said it does.
So, before he takes that sip, he almost wasted my entire bottle earlier.
Oh, well, I was entranced by
he was just... I was like, what are you doing? Don't fill up the glass. I can't drink that much.
Almost an entire freaking glass.
Yeah, I know. You were, like, right here. Sorry. All right, well, clink.
Right. Clink Ultra Vase.
And then let me know what you think, because I've already had this one.
Ooh. That's sweet.
Yeah, right?
That's very sweet. Definitely... Ooh. You can definitely feel that 48% though.
Oh yeah,
that is spicy. That is really freaking good though.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot sweeter than I was expecting.
If anything, I'm more impressed with that random neckbeard that we met there.
Oh yeah, did we ever go into that? We did.
We did. We don't have to go into it again, but he recommended the first one we got. I forgot the name of that first one. I think it started with a Y. Hakushu?
No.
It wasn't Hakushu. Anyways, the first one he recommended was good. Mm-hmm. This is the second one he recommended. And then the other two is the 10 and the 15 year.
Yeah.
So those will be up next. But so far, the man has taste. I'll give him that.
Yeah. No, kudos to random.
Yeah, weebs know their Japanese whiskeys. I'll give him that.
You're damn straight. Anyways, yeah, definitely recommend this one to people. And how much was this one?
That one was, I believe, I paid about 60.
Okay, yeah, not bad for 60.
$59.99. Yeah. I know it's cheaper in Japan.
Obviously.
Isn't it baffling that, like, their bottle is like $20? Especially Harmony. But
okay, yeah, I would say it's baffling in the sense of you could have something that good for so cheap. It's not baffling in the sense of it being so expensive over here for two reasons. One, free market, therefore people can be like, oh, look, it's from Japan, I'm going to charge extra for it.
Yeah.
Plus, it does cost a bit to get it shipped over here.
I will give Total Wine its due diligence. They do keep it minimum compared
Which is
to
surprising
Bevmo.
because they didn't used to.
Yeah.
Before the whole Japanese whiskey craze, it was freaking expensive over there.
Oh, yeah.
Just as bad as Bevmo. But now it seems like maybe they've gotten their crap together because, yeah, they're decent prices over there. So, kind of sort of shout out, I guess, to Total Wine & More.
Well, I was impressed by the prices, therefore I gave them my business, and that's why I'm a membership now.
And I'm impressed by their hiring habits. If Mr. freaking neckbeard weeb 4chan man.
Did I ever tell you that, like, you've seen it. If you go to Total Wine, they have, like, staff recommendations, always a picture of it. And I think I mentioned it before, but, like, whoever this Lisa is, and I know I'm name dropping here, you were an alcoholic. Because when I went there to go buy a Chardonnay for my girlfriend's birthday, we were, like, looking at the recommendations. I don't know much about Chardonnay, so definitely I would say my girlfriend knows a little bit more. But even then, going to Total Wine, the amount of selections they had, of course, you wanted, like, okay, what does the staff recommend? Yeah. And obviously, they have that everywhere. But then this Lisa person was, like, in every aisle. When I went to the Japanese whiskey aisle to get what I wanted, there she is again. I'm like, Lisa, girl, your liver.
I wonder if she, like, is allowed to come into work drunk.
Interesting. You can't do that.
Yeah.
She's just constantly hammered.
So was the Fedora man there?
The Fedora, I honestly forgot who he was. He might have worked there. Oh. But then, keep in mind, there were 3 neckbeards there.
Were there?
Well, not necessarily neckbeards, just I'm talking about their appearance. Just overweight and, yeah, not very appealing to the ladies.
Hey, no fat shaming here.
No, I can fat shame. What's wrong with fat shaming?
Oh, nothing, but also everything.
Really?
I don't know. Today's society?
You just contradicted yourself, buddy.
I'm tired. Okay. Anyways.
Nothing wrong with fat shaming, because guess what? It's for your health.
Right? It is.
I know.
I don't know.
I know it is.
Is it?
I mean, I fat
shame. Do we fat shame because of their health, or do we fat shame because it's funny?
Yeah, I'd say it's more funny. But my excuse is health.
Fair enough.
Oh, man. So, speaking of shaming.
Yeah.
Weird transition. Anyways, you were telling me about you red pilling several people. Oh. It sounds very rapey.
Yes, I suppose. Yeah, no, that was just at work mostly. I guess in a quick little nutshell, I try to be. In general, I'm not very filtered, and I very much enjoy being that way. It makes life more interesting, fun, and exciting. But sometimes, like, I do believe that you should be able to say whatever you want to say. But there is such a thing as, like, situational awareness, know your surroundings. Not everywhere you go is necessarily the best time to practice your edgy speech, if you will.
Is it edgy?
I don't know. Kind of, sometimes, depending. I think people overuse the word edgy, but...
I don't think it's that edgy. I think it's the truth.
Well,
majority of the time.
It depends what it is, but anyways. Yeah, so basically started working there at the lab and trying to feel people out, trying to understand kind of where they're at with certain things.
Again, sounds rapey.
Rapey, I understand. And, pretty quickly I found that most of them were kind of cool with messed up humor. And so I just kind of become very open about it. And there's a couple people in general who would kind of cringe at what I was saying, but they would still laugh. So that was pretty evident to me, like, okay, you're willing to laugh at it, even though it makes you uncomfortable. So maybe there's room to actually deal with, like, some actual stuff that's important, like politics and society. And the one that was actually very interesting is this lesbian chick who I've gotten along with pretty well. She's Hispanic and stuff, and she always she doesn't like when I use, like, spick or beaner or wetback. It kind of makes her angry. But then it's me, so she ends up laughing about it.
Oh, so you're using your brown card?
Oh, of course, I use it whenever it's most convenient. But anyways, yeah, no, like, so her and I have been talking about certain things, like the whole Black Lives Matter movement, Antifa, society, even some, like, just general stuff, like how to treat homosexuals, you know? Because I was straight up with her. I'm like, I don't support that way of living, and I think it's wrong, you know, and I'm not for that. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily going to treat you like a piece of garbage, because you're, at the end of the day, you're a human being too. So as long as you're not being a douchebag, I'm not going to be a douchebag with you. So stuff like that. But then a couple days ago, she ended up coming over to me and was like, "Hey, I'm kind of starting to understand where you're coming from on certain things." I'm like, what in particular? And she basically mentions, you know, the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and how they're not what they say they are, that they're more of an instigation type group than they are about change. And then also just about people complaining about things that don't matter, like, you know, systemic racism, complaining about rights and freedoms when they actually have those rights and freedoms. They're just making it a big deal for the sake of playing with people's heartstrings and manipulation and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of interesting, because she wasn't all about that before. And she was like, yeah, I feel like it's important for us, you know, brownskins to be educated.
Brownskins.
Yeah.
Brownskins can mean anything.
Well, exactly.
It can mean Pakistani, too.
Yeah.
I would give my life for...
I would be pilot.
I would give my life for Pakistan.
But, anyways, you know, that she thought it was important that you know, we should be educated and not be so easily manipulated with these things that the media tells us to do and all that. And I was like, hey, that's progress. I'm really happy to hear you say that. But let me also add this, if I may. If your initial thought is concern for your brown skin peoples, maybe try to make it, instead of that, my fellow countrymen, not based on color. Because and I even explained to her, like, the reason why America is at a crossroads right now is because of all the divide. Other countries don't usually have this kind of crap go on because they're more homogenous. They're all the same color, they're all the same culture, all that kind of stuff. And so when crap hits the fan, they think more of, hey, how can we better our community or our country, versus how can I better things just for my people? Mm-hmm. And so I explained to her, you know, it shouldn't be, you know, go ahead and have your cultural differences and you know, take pride in your roots if you want. But at the end of the day, your concern and your initial thought should be my fellow countrymen, my fellow Americans, the people who are citizens alongside me. They should be educated, all despite their color, despite their background, so that way we can have a better country, you know. And she definitely kind of looked a little. Sorry, I was distracted by things.
Was there a spider there?
No, just another bug of some sort.
Oh.
But yeah, so yeah, just basically encouraged her to do that. She was like, yeah, no, you're probably right. And so that was her. Plus, then there's a few other people that are kind of catching on too. So it's kind of interesting, because it does seem like people are still obviously following their emotions, but they seem to be opening up their eyes a little bit.
I think human beings essentially are just emotional creatures. Yeah,
well, and you know, the powers that be have known that for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, that's why the media is the way that it is. That's why entertainment is the way that it is.
I mean, now that you mentioned the lab and this thought came to my head, I'm like, if the media portrays, like, for example, like COVID, for example, is as much of a pandemic as it is, why do we have to test it? If it's as contagious as it should be, as it is, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if it spreads, like, your body and how it should react should be an indicator itself that it's... I don't know, it's just... Don't you find that kind of weird, or is that just me? That a virus that spreads so easily has to be tested before you find out you have it, opposed to, like, what, other diseases?
Well, I think, to be fair, because, you know, there's an incubation period, right?
That's true.
So, at least on surface level, the concern is, let's figure out whether or not you have the virus first before you start feeling the effects of it. Mm-hmm. That way we can start taking care of it now versus taking care of it later when it's full spread and you're freaking in pain and dying and all that kind of stuff. So that's surface level, though. But as you and I both know, surface level is never all there is to it. There's more to it.
It mimics other symptoms.
Like it does. And so I think the other side of that coin could be, well, if we don't make it look like it's a big deal, then people aren't going to treat it like a big deal. And if they don't treat it like a big deal, then we can't, do whatever.
Tell those to people in Florida.
Yeah. So, because we've got the election coming up. We have the whole Hillary thing. She's supposed to be going to court,
For what exactly?
Had to do with
Benghazi, finally.
The emails and all that kind of stuff, plus then some Epstein stuff, and then it was around that time that this whole COVID thing got real huge. So it could be being used as a distraction method. There's a lot of ifs and ands and possibilities. So yeah, like I said, if they don't make it look like a big deal, aka just freaking mass testing, and over again type of thing.
Do you feel that's just a big distraction?
In a huge portion, yes. Is that all there is to it? I'm not on the in to say.
It's
yes
hard because we're pretty much borderline conspiracy theory right now.
Well, yeah. Well, anything is anything that is not in acceptance of the mainstream is technically
anything that isn't theory. On reliable sources.
Yeah, which is stupid. Thank you, CNN.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just one of those things. There are some people on either end of the spectrum, but for sake of argument, on like the right side, that like to kind of say, no, this is definitely happening, even though they're going off of the same information that I am and anybody else is. And I think that's not how somebody should go about things, because then you're not being any better than the other side that you say is not doing things right. Mm-hmm. So if you have a theory, treat it as a theory, until it can be proven in solid fact to the masses, then treat it gently. You can feel strongly about it, and you can, even in your own mind and heart, think of it as irrefutable fact. But when trying to convince someone who isn't on the same page as you are about something, doing that and treating it as fact is not usually the best route, at least in my experience, because I've talked to a lot of people, and I've actually convinced a lot of people throughout my life to think differently, but I've never ever done it by saying, no, this is 100% fact, there's no blah blah blah. No, I always treat it like how I would hope somebody kind of would approach me, which is, hey, here's a question, ponder this question and do your research. So that way you can do your own research and you can draw your own conclusion on it. And if you're not a completely brain dead person, you'll see that, no, this is irrefutable, But again, when it comes to the purpose of, the virus or
the virus,
stuff like that, it's really difficult to draw a definitive conclusion.
It's
because here's the thing: is it real?
Of course,
yes,
it's real.
But there are people who think it's not. I think it's a real thing, but I don't think it is as serious as they're making it out to be, because there's a lot of contradicting science to it.
Yeah, people blame 5G towers for those people too. Now, yeah, it's a real thing. Now, the severity of it is what's to be questioned.
Exactly. And then, after you come to a conclusion about that, then the other question is, okay, so why are you guys making this a big deal? What are you actually trying to do?
Which is interesting, because we talked about it earlier. It is an election year.
Yep. So,
I mean,
very big election.
Yeah, I joke about it. You joke about it. But we're like, watch this coronavirus just leave as soon as this whole election year ends.
If Biden gets elected, then virus gone. Wow,
Biden
was the vaccine.
He just had to be the incumbent.
Yeah, no. It'll be interesting. Who I think I kind of know this already, but for the sake of conversation, who is on your who's got your vote?
It's obvious at this point. Come on.
Yeah.
There's only one option. Okay. The only one option.
So not the senile old man?
I mean. 404 not found, I guess.
Yes.
No,
That's gonna be interesting, man.
You know what, dude? I used to be a hardcore, I guess earlier on I used to be, I wouldn't say I was really a Democrat, but I definitely had very liberal, leanings. But then it's funny as you mature and you actually look at, things presented to you and you realize they're not 100% being real with you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's just stuff that I'm shocked by. Like, I mean, even looking back at history, it's like, if you really think about it, it's getting too political. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Well, to be fair, because we were going
to... I don't want to go there.
No?
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about the Kalergi plan or Kalergi?
I mean, we could briefly talk about it.
Yeah, because it again, it's one of those things.
It does line up. Those two things.
And it's like, the reality is, again, we're living in a day and age of information. Both the war on information and the absolute just never-ending access to information. Something that I also thought was kind of funny back where I work is the conversation has been had on a couple occasions where it's like, oh, where did you get that information from? Oh, I Googled it. I'm like, okay, and what, did you just get something from the first page of Google? Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of ridiculous. Some people think that information is so easily obtainable that it is as simple as a quick Google search, grab something off the first page and be like, aha, I know the thing.
I mean, you got to check who's posting that.
Yeah, there is some work that is needed to actually obtain the facts. Because at the same time that, like I said, that we have access to all of it, there is an effort to hide it all, to make it more difficult to find. And so something like the Kalergi plan, I think it's kind of interesting because that really ties into a lot of current day stuff that's going on. With refugees, with immigration.
I mean, that's just Europe. We're not even talking about here.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. We are seeing that here, too. We're essentially being forced to take in a certain number of people.
Now, do you believe the reason for that is, like I said, talking about the parties that we've mentioned, you have pretty much an immigrant population that come in, make them reliable on you as a source of funding of that section of the government. Do you feel like the reason they do that is to have their vote?
I think that's a part of it, but I think that's very small. I think that's
so. What do you think the reason for this is?
Well, first off, do you want to maybe give a quick little rundown about what the Kalergi plan is?
Go ahead.
You do it.
I can't articulate it.
You can articulate.
I just deleted
it. Did you for real?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't want to quote. That's what I remember that.
Okay. It's gonna be hard. I could look it up, but I don't know. I don't want to do it. Basically, the Kalergi plan is.
Well, they just want to replace to sum it up, they just want to replace the majority population of like a country.
Yeah, basically
with immigrants,
interracial type stuff, bringing in immigrants from lesser countries, and getting rid of essentially the whites,
which isn't racist.
I guess not. And it's taken on multiple different forms throughout the years. Right now, you've got this whole push for what is it they called? I think they call them like the something melatonin or whatever. Basically, you have black people like
melatonin is to help you sleep. You're talking about melanite?
Melanin, yeah, there you go.
Melanin.
That apparently they are the supreme race because they have a higher amount of melanin in their stuff.
And they're mixed. We was kings?
Yeah. No, it's a part of the same group of people. Anyway, so it looks different here and there, but it's all kind of the same thing. Essentially, get rid of the more prominent race or ethnicity.
I guess to sum it up, melanin theory is what you're mentioning, is a claim in Afrocentrism that a higher level of melanin, the primary determinant of skin color in humans, is the cause of an intellectual and physical superiority of dark-skinned people. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Now, I didn't know this was an actual theory, to be honest with you. I knew there was some people, like, throwing the idea out, especially with what's going on Twitter. We was kings.
Yep.
But, wow, that's racist.
It is. It is. And it's weird how many people will jump on board with that because, we don't want to be racist towards black people. But in reality, now you're just being racist towards other people, too.
Yeah. It's essentially... it just reminds me of that one video clip that I saw of, like, a bunch of white people getting on their knees and kissing the feet of...
Yeah. Not a good look.
We're talking equality here. That doesn't show equality for me.
No.
I thought this country was founded on the basis of, be good to your fellow man.
Yeah, it's all weird right now. But yeah, so anyways, the Calico Plan, just, what is the ultimate purpose of forcing countries, European countries, or just Western countries in general, to take in a certain number of refugees or immigrants and making it almost like a mandatory type thing? In my opinion, there's a big one, and that is, it kind of goes down to topics that we've spoken about before, which is homogeny in a country is extremely important. And if you have a group that is freshly out of their country, especially one where like some of these people are like told, hey, you're going to America now, they're going to still be very, very, very loyal to their own country.
That's all they know.
Yeah. And it will disrupt any sort of national unity if you have a huge number of people who don't care about that national unity.
That's why we have places in, especially here in Los Angeles, just sects of they're pretty much just their country.
Mm-hmm. And it's just not good, because then again, like I said, that creates a divide.
Oh yeah.
And then as far as the whole voting thing, that is definitely a part of it too. The Democratic Party in general tries to
pretend they're on your side.
Yeah, they try to appeal to these groups, but because they treat them like they're just, I guess, trash, essentially. Hey, here's a bunch of words and promises. Yay, great fun times for you people who are less fortunate. And then as soon as you vote for them, because that's the way these people think when they're freshly in America, oh, these people said they're going to do this for us, let's vote for them. And then they get into office, and then nothing ever happens.
They don't see how bad that is. It's like, you don't want to constantly rely on someone else for your own success. To leads me to question, I did watch a documentary that I mentioned to you called Uncle Tom. Mm-hmm. I had an idea already, but it's interesting to me that, for example, you're a successful African American, and that other people of your race, probably in a lower part or in the ghetto, will look at you and call you an Uncle Tom, saying you're just trying to be one of them. Mm. Isn't that a good thing, to get yourself out of poverty?
Yeah.
Be a self-made person?
It should be. It should be. Why is it becoming demonized now?
I don't understand that, because, for example, Asian culture is not like that. Mm. I mean, there are definitely poor Asians, but for the majority of the time, we see successful Asian.
Successful.
That one, I got Asian real quick. You see a successful Asian person, you say, hey, I can do that too. I'm going to push myself to be like that. Mm. There's no, oh, you're just trying to be one of them. No, we embrace it.
Yeah, it's weird, because I feel like it's like this weird shift where all of a sudden becoming successful or wanting to become successful is betraying your ethnicity, which I think is the most retarded thing you could possibly have. In your household, in your community, in your state, in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
Because even, for crying out loud, even in countries that are not as well off as the U.S., it's still encouraged to do better. So it's like, why is this a thing? But again, right now it's such a weird time, because it seems like the people who really, really, really want this country to go a certain way that's really bad for the country are just pulling stuff out of their ass now. They're trying anything and everything to make people associate anything good about America with white people, and then they're going to associate white people with racism. And so if you have anything to do with either one of those things...
if we're talking stats here, you guys do realize that Asian Americans make more than... majority of probably white Americans at this point.
Maybe. I know that they definitely make more than any other minority here.
Yeah.
But I would be curious to see if how high that goes up, because if we're talking about millions and billionaires.
All right, let's look it up. I'll look it up right now. Keep talking.
All right. Jan is doing things on the computer, so I'm gonna say, hey everybody, hope you are doing well.
Really?
Yeah, little something.
This is a really bad segue.
I don't know. It's like, it's just, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're in a country and you're a citizen of that country, your first and primary concern should be that country. Don't come here and freaking think, oh, I'm going to turn this country into my homeland of Zimbabwe, because that's not going to help anybody. Also, if you really like Zimbabwe that much, why did you come here? And that applies to anyone else that comes from any other country. But
well, according to this article, Asians have the highest incomes in the United States.
Done deal?
Well, it's CNN, so I don't know if this is true.
Oh. Because are we talking about a national average, or are we talking about, like, the most money?
I'm talking about national average.
Okay, well, the national average, yeah, that makes sense. But I was talking about individually.
What do you mean by individually?
Well, because is it white people, like, do white people, percentage-wise, make more, or do Asians make more? Well, because there's a difference between percentage and average. Because an average, you take a percentage, and then you divide that.
Well, according to this chart here, Asians on median average make $77,900. Whites come in second at $63,400, and then followed by Hispanics $43,000, and then African Americans $24,000.
They make that much?
I mean, I'm just going off of this chart here. This is Washington Post. Still, I'm not sure if this is accurate.
Yeah, but again, there is a difference between average and the total percentage.
But what do you mean by individual, though?
Like total percentage. Like how many are like, let's say, millionaires or whatever. How many?
Well, if we're talking about individually, then of course, then I'd say whites probably make the most.
Yeah, they've been here the longest. Like curiosity that I had.
I'm talking about just as
an average. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Freaking Asian privilege.
It's not real.
But anyways,
it's not real. Anyone, that's the beauty of this country, man. Anyone, doesn't matter where you're from, you can find success. You just got to put the work in.
Yeah, and to be fair, some people are born in environments that make it a little bit easier, like a head start or a boost, if you will. But it doesn't mean that you know that if you're not born into that environment that you can't get it. No, you can. It just means you have to work harder.
Yeah.
You know. But
I mean, like, you know, for example, like, my father is making decent money right now, more than decent, I'd say. Came to this country as a fisherman. He used to change curtains, and, you know, very wealthy people that live in Las Feliz. And he used to be in the fish markets just catching fish. Didn't make a, you know, large amount of money, but definitely worked his way up eventually. So the fact that you have that opportunity in this country is just, it's a blessing, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, I guess, because I'm an immigrant myself, so I can see, like...
Dirty scumbag.
Yeah, I'm an immigrant, but I'm nationalized. Or naturalized, sorry. Nationalized.
Is it naturalized?
I think it's naturalized. I believe it's naturalized.
I thought it was nationalized.
I guess it's more or less the same
One of those
thing.
two.
One of those two. But, you know... I had the opportunity to grow up where I came from, not the best place, very, you know, poor, almost village-like. And then to come here and see what we have, I'm like, dude, there's opportunities here. You just got to go get it. It's like, I don't know why people are arguing that they're oppressed. Like, I came from a poor country, and that's not the poorest country. I would say even where I came from is still a luxury compared to other countries.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just don't see the divider. And the interesting thing is, I did talk to... you know, a coworker of mine who came from Lebanon.
Okay.
And you know what goes on over there in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And he was saying pretty much putting down the youth of America doing all of this Antifa type protest, saying these kids are too young, they don't understand like what they're doing, what they're saying, the ideology they're trying to pass by, because I came from a country where if you speak anything against the government, you disappear overnight.
Yeah. You go bye-bye.
Yeah, you go bye-bye. So that's why I came here to America and look where I am now. Like, I make a decent living. I own my own business. So I just don't see what the issue is.
If there was truly systemic racism, there would be 0 cases of immigrants being successful.
Yeah.
You know, if there was truly systemic racism, every successful person would be white. But it's not like that, you know.
You can, I mean, for example, like, we live in Los Angeles. It's the most abundant place in terms of food. You can go down, like, Sawtell and see...
Ooh, yeah.
It's been a while. You can see different types of restaurants that are owned by different types of people. Like, and they're successful businesses. And you're telling me that the system is putting them down? Like, come on.
No.
Come on, man.
There are such things as maybe different state regulations or zoning issues or whatever that might make it difficult for a company to continue to grow. But even then, that's not a race thing. That's just, that's state, local government or whatever, and that affects everyone, you know. There's no one that's getting freaking, you know, free handouts or whatever just because, they're a white business. That just doesn't exist.
Yeah, they go under too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's foolish.
Whoever decided to do churro ice cream, you suck.
You don't like churro ice cream?
I don't know. Well, maybe you've had a different type of churro ice cream, but the one I had, I guess they try to fill in the middle.
Oh.
And if you know anything about churro,
yeah.
and if you put anything near cold, it just hardens it.
Yeah, I agree.
Trying to chew through that thing, man, just not good for your teeth.
There is a spot that maybe one of these days I'll take you to. They do a pretty good job with it because they don't fill the churro with ice cream. They
I don't get that.
Churro next to ice cream.
And I'm the dumbass who was like, "That's awesome." I'm like, this sucks.
Whatever.
I can't chew through this.
To be fair, I was a dumbass who was like, "Hey, let's go to this boba place tonight," and then both of our drinks were subpar. So we both make mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
at least you still have yours. Mine had like. This is all ice.
This is just to cover the taste of the whiskey at this point.
I don't even have that. Thanks a lot for helping me out, buddy.
With what?
With a chaser.
I don't have anything.
Jerk. Anyways.
I don't have soda right now.
But yeah. So hopefully, you know, like I said, it does seem like people are starting to kind of open up their eyes slowly.
Open up your eyes.
It'll be interesting to see if enough people have opened their eyes before re-election.
We'll see. I mean, dude, like, since we're talking about older Americans, like, come on, look, you've seen footage in the RNC when that older couple was leaving, and, you know, I mentioned before, I'm like, that guy, I'm pretty sure that guy served in the war.
Yeah,
he's at that age. And to think that he went to war to fight fascism, and to come home to this, the very thing that he fought against, and to have this young man he fought for his privileges, his freedom, to have him come over to his face with his mask, go up to his wife, and threaten them and call them a racist. Like, it's the biggest spit in your face. Like, I feel terrible for, like...
To be honest, there is a part of me that would very much appreciate it if all those types of people just died. One foul swoop, just every freaking liberal, socialist, you know, just fascist a-hole, just... I don't know. Instantaneously combusted.
Hey, man, they're anti-fascist. What are you talking about?
Not the way they do things.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying here. It's like,
it's just.
Can you imagine being that guy? You've lived how many years on Earth? Pretty much a quarter of it spent in combat.
You helped protect the breeding of a scumbag, basically.
You fought against fascists to come home and realize that they're still at. Pretty much, you can't escape them.
You weren't warning us that the enemy was closing in on us. You were warning us that the enemy was coming from us.
Out of me.
Yeah, no. But, anyways, we will for the foreseeable future.
I feel like this topic is beating us down.
It is, but we will constantly be revisiting things like this just because it's the current state of where we're living. But
it has to be addressed.
Yeah, let's change it up a bit for the sake of good times.
Let's
talk about cancel
like
Joji. Tell me about that, because I honestly hadn't even heard about that.
I just found out about it recently.
Until you told me.
Well, I'm pretty sure at this point all of you tweens know about Joji, the heartthrob that makes some decent music at times.
Yeah, emo, like
a sad boy times.
Yeah, sad boy times.
Yeah.
There you go.
He had decent stuff, but I guess none of you realized who he truly was.
Yeah, apparently not. I was shocked.
If anything, you didn't know who he truly was in his different faces, because technically he's not just that one vile creature. He's like a dozen vile creatures, if you think about it. He's Chin Chin, he's Pink Guy, he's Salamander Man, he's Safari Man.
Safari Man. Oh, the lemon...
I don't know what the name is, just the lemon head guy?
Yeah. Yes.
He's the Zuckerbot. he's everything foul that you hate.
Yeah.
And now that you understand that,
your bubbles have been burst.
Yeah, I know. I don't get that though. But for us, since we grew up with the the filth.
We were offended when he stopped being
I know.
that way.
That was I was like, how dare you?
Like, Joji, come back. You know that you can't get rid of who you truly are forever. But he's been happy with it, so I guess, good for him. Of course, now with the whole cancel Joji thing, it'll be interesting to see how he deals with it.
If you think about it, he did get out at kind of the right moment with the whole...
Oh, yeah, right before freaking YouTube started getting super gay and strict on things.
Well, we're probably gone after this. It's called YouTube gay. Anyways, yeah, it's just bizarre. Like, a bunch of these tweens are like, oh, I can't believe he said the N-word in a song. Oh, my Lord. I'm like, that's not the worst thing he's done.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they haven't
Can't wait till PETA gets on his case.
Oh, PETA. I think they already know.
Maybe.
The freaking rat tacos.
Yep.
The hair cake.
Oh, dude, the freaking... That was a bit much for me.
Like, everyone's pubes in a cake?
Everyone's pubes and everyone's throwing up everywhere. I'm just like, okay, that's...
I mean,
that's a bit much.
I found it funny because I remember my favorite skit from Jackass, if you remember Jackass, I believe 2.
Of course.
Aaron McGehee, Terror Taxi.
That was so beautifully executed.
If you think about the time that it came out, like, you've never seen anything like that. It's like, it's pretty much modern humor now. Like, just how vile it is.
That is kind of, yeah. I do miss Filthy Frank and all of that stuff. But at the same time, I do kind of sort of hope that Joji doesn't get too much crap for this.
Now that we're talking about Filthy Frank, there's that Filthy Frank 2 guy that's been doing a thing. No.
I watched one of his videos and I was like, okay, he does a good job.
He does a good job.
But the issue is that's all he does. He just replicates and then keeps going on and on and on. And then there's this one female version. I forgot her name.
I forgot the name too.
Yeah, and I thought, hey,
let me look it up.
Kind of funny that she's doing that.
She's obnoxious.
She is, but that helped me to open my eyes with Filthy Frank too. Was that he's also obnoxious. These people are just copy pasta freaking.
You think that's the reason why we're off put by it?
Yeah, because if you're doing it as like a quick little nod.
Lotus.
Lotus. Okay, yeah,
that's her name.
If you're doing it as a quick little nod, you are.
Yeah.
Oh, freaking loser. Simp. No.
Shit, let me unsubscribe. Yeah. Now I remember. I was gonna bring this up, so I couldn't remember her name. So
cool. Here you go.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah. So again, if someone is doing like a quick little nod because, hey, I love this guy, they inspired me or whatever to do my own thing, then it's okay to come up with an episode or two of basically doing a copy pasta version.
I mean, people seem to like it. The guy has
but here's the thing: people like Kanye, people like Kim Kardashian. Just because a lot of people like something doesn't mean it's good. And so, good for them, I guess, because they're doing so well. But for me, it's garbage. It's obnoxious. It's like, okay, this is literally, you're not offering anything to change it up or whatever. And the thing that really kind of annoyed me was this quick little feud between Filthy Frank 2, the channel, and Lotus. And he was like literally like going in on this girl, and it wasn't even being funny. It was you could tell. I don't know. You can tell when someone is doing it for the sake of a character or whatever. But like he was legit like getting butthurt that she was calling him out, and from a third party perspective, they're both losers. Okay, but if you're gonna get butthurt because someone's calling you out for being a copy paste, just thing of somebody else previously,
I mean, you guys,
and you can't just simply accept that, even in jesting, exactly, then you are now officially somebody who I've lost all respect for. It's like you could have at least played along with it and been like, yeah, I am a copy paste or whatever.
Yeah, I will say I enjoyed it for the nostalgia for the first couple episodes. Yeah. But then, I'm in the same boat. I'm like, okay, this is...
Yeah, it's just like, okay, where's your own spin? Where's your originality?
Actually, I believe he's trying to do Twitch now as the character.
Whatever. My thing too,
which is not. I was like, I don't think Filthy Frank would do Twitch.
No, and if he would, it would be amazing. But that's the thing I was gonna say about
before I cut you off, we sound like
before me cutting me off. You already did.
Well, I'm gonna cut you off right here because I just want to put this in. We sound like complete faggots right now that we're.
Oh, of course, of course. I'm aware. Of
I just want to throw that out. We sound like faggots arguing about this.
But real quick, just the other thing that annoyed me
go ahead.
is that this Filthy Frank 2 guy, way too freaking PC.
You think?
Absolutely.
At what point?
It's like he blue balls the whole character, because with Filthy Frank he would deliver, and he would deliver hard. Okay, with this dude, he like does everything that leads up to like what would have been the punchline of the joke, and then when it gets to the punchline, it's like a super tamed version of what the actual Filthy Frank would have done.
Yeah.
And so to me, I'm like, oh, what is this, a freaking PBS Kids version of it? I don't need this crap. So that was the other thing that I just got annoyed with. It was like, okay, I like Filthy Frank for the offensiveness that he was. Also other reasons, but I did appreciate the fact that he was pretty offensive. This guy, not really. If you compare them side by side, Filthy Frank 2 is child's play compared to the original. So
yeah,
I'm just kind of like, I'm over it and move on. So.
Well, that was Drama Alert, everyone.
Yeah, Keemstar.
Okay. All right. Well. It's awkward silence. I dropped Drama Alert and then yeah. Well.
Yeah, that's freaking name dropping in here. Okay, I don't need Keemstar to get us freaking banned.
I don't care, man.
No, honestly, I would like to have a beer with Keemstar because he seems like such a prick, but also I feel like he's not as dumb as some people make him seem to be. Like, I personally, and this is kind of completely off.
You just want to have a beer with everyone. I want to have a beer with Hitler.
Almost. I don't want to have a beer with H3H3.
I want to have a beer with Stalin.
Yes, but
and then disappear after.
No, I think I could get on Stalin's good side, bro. I think I could. Same with
his
Hitler.
good side is called the Gulag.
But
oh wait, really? Dude, I remember you were a big H3H3 fan.
I was.
You even had a shirt, and I called you a faggot for it.
No, but it was funny. It was internal oppression or something like that.
No, even then I wouldn't buy merch from that guy.
I like to buy merch here and there. I'm not a huge merch guy, but that one I thought was funny.
I love how like you're just like, let's not name drop people. Yeah, but I wouldn't have a beer with H3H3.
No, fuck that guy. No, here's the thing.
All right, let's close out with this. Okay, go.
The H3H3, both him and Hila, they started off on a really good note. They were hilarious. They were a good team together, and they were on the right side of comedy. But as they've gotten bigger, their innate Jewness has become very, very obvious.
Wow. I didn't expect that one.
There was a whole thing with what's his name, Gokunaro. He came out with like his own version of like a content cop.
Goku, I don't know who Gokunaro is.
Oh, dude, I gotta show you this later. Basically, this dude put a huge hit piece out on how
okay, go ahead.
Ethan, especially now that he's gotten bigger, has mistreated guests, has just completely.
I just thought his podcasts were just like.
They were kind of lame, but
they were lame because he would just read off a script the entire time,
basically,
and I just couldn't.
But
there wasn't anything natural about it.
Ultimately, for me, was just the first big flag was the whole thing with PewDiePie, because they were supposed to be friends, and then PewDiePie drops the N-bomb, and all of a sudden, Ethan's all like, "Oh, that's never okay. It doesn't matter what the context is." But when freaking
he says it.
Ian. From iDubbbz was on. Freaking Ethan continuously said "nigger faggot" over and over and over again. Like, oh man, like to the point where even Ian looked uncomfortable. He's like, he even said, like, if I remember correctly, he goes, "Wow, you're using that pretty liberally or whatever." So people finally started bringing that to Ethan's attention, and he still made excuses for it. But I'm like, oh, what happened to it doesn't matter on the context, you're never allowed to use that word. So there's that huge hypocrite, and just completely throwing your quote-unquote friend under the bus. And a bunch of other guys from old school YouTube that he's treated like crap, and he's just a garbage person. He refuses to take responsibility for his actions, and he's inconsistent with his views. And because of that, I've just been like, I've signed off. I'm like, no, I'm not cool with that anymore. Like, I don't like fake people, and I don't like people who are not consistent. Like, if you make a mistake as a human being, that's fine. We're all human. We do that. But if someone calls you out on it, don't freaking make excuses and still keep yourself on a pedestal. No, you take responsibility
you're
for
punching
that.
up right now, buddy.
Yeah, no, I legitimately, it made me sad to see them go down this path, because even Hila now is kind of like, obviously they're married, so in some ways good for her, but she is taking his side on everything too.
Yeah, because that's her husband. I assume that would be the right.
But it's just sad, because like I said, when you look at their older stuff and their journey, I was really happy for them that they got as big as they did. Now I would very much like to see them fall.
Wow.
They're garbage human beings.
Wow.
It's just messed up. Maybe not to the slums, but just stop what they're doing, because their opinion doesn't matter anymore. I mean, they don't do research. They refuse to take responsibility for mistakes that they've made, and they push out a very unfair agenda or view on things.
Spiteful, aren't we?
No, I don't respect that guy anymore. So
I mean, I get you. Yeah. I sympathize with you, but what I'm gonna say is essentially, like, they're just all YouTubers.
Of course,
I don't give a crap about any of their opinions.
Like, if you think everything boils down to it, I could care less about anyone on the platform.
Oh yeah, of course.
But if we're talking specifically about people on the platform, like, I think PewDiePie seems like a pretty legit dude.
Oh yeah,
I could probably enjoy spending time with.
I did mention that, like, I signed off of PewDiePie for a bit, and then he just turned into something else. And I was like, oh, I kind of respect this version of him even more.
And see, for me, I just take that respect and I kind of put it into what do you call that? A what if scenario.
What if?
So that's kind of where my whole kind of feeling on the H3 thing came from. It was in the sense of, would I actually care about them in person? No. Somebody like PewDiePie or somebody like
I could see
even
him as
Philip DeFranco. I'm not a huge fan of his. I've
never watched any of his stuff, actually.
No? Yeah, that was one that I started off with way back in the day, and I ended up sticking around for whatever reason. I disagree with a lot of the stuff that he says, or a lot of his viewpoints, but I can still respect the fact that he does take the time to do at least more research than most news channels, and he does tend to open himself up to the possibility of being wrong, and has on occasion come back and re-updated a video saying, that's good, and that I can respect.
So would you say, okay, I keep saying it, let's end here, but would you say that him or anything that comes to your mind is a reliable news source? Because that's very hard to come by.
I would not say he's a reliable news source. I would say if I want to be kept up to date on what's currently happening, I will probably prefer to listen to what he says, because he does tend to include multiple sources, but he does have his own bias, and he does.
Everyone does, of course.
So.
Now, what I want from a journalist is, can you keep that bias out of the news?
Exactly, and I would say
which is very hard to find.
He does tend to do that with a few occasions where I have seen him kind of bring in his own thing. But even then, he does, at those times where he feels very strongly personally about something, he will say, this is my thing, so take it or leave it. I know, blah, blah, blah. And he'll kind of like spill the beans on his own biases. So again, even that I can kind of respect, though I think as a journalist, or I don't even know if he considers himself a journalist, to be honest, because he's just regurgitating news that other people have reported.
I mean, essentially that's what news on YouTube is pretty much is at this point.
Right, exactly. So is anybody actually a journalist on YouTube? I don't think so.
I mean, we're regurgitating information as well.
Yeah, but anyways,
you're spewing hate for the Jews. Nah. Specifically to Jews.
Well, I don't really hate Hila, because again, I feel like she's in a position where she's
just standing by her husband. Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, but with Ethan, he needs some time off and just regroup and stop being such a cunt, because he's a complete douchebag.
Is he the person you hate the most on YouTube right now?
No. I don't usually.
It sounds spiteful.
I don't usually unsubscribe to people, but I did unsubscribe to him. So, it's to that extent, you know. But are there other people that I hate more? Yeah, absolutely.
What I dislike most about, I guess, YouTubers, at least the big ones, is when they use their platform to go harass another YouTuber because they have an opinion of that person.
Yeah.
Or they posted an opinion on them, which obviously hurt their ego, and then they obviously, when they go back at the other guy, then they have their whole fan base go after the other guy as well.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the reason, like, yeah, YouTube is great. You're probably making profit, but like essentially you're not essential. Like, I could care less about your opinion.
Yeah.
Anything is just unnecessary.
I think it's cool when you have a fan base that will go and defend you and all that kind of stuff.
It's almost cult-like.
But I do feel like, depending on who it is that's actually leading them, like, for instance, again, PewDiePie, his fan base will go and do things, whatever. But it doesn't tend to be as...
Well, he's not instigating it.
Well, yeah, but still, oh, I see what you're saying. So you're specifically talking about content creators who tell their fans to go do something, right?
Well, yes, but there's also
insinuate.
Insinuating is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
not necessarily telling them to like go harass that person, but like their body language and what they say would insinuate.
Yeah, it's pretty childish.
Essentially, the reason why I hate YouTube drama, like I don't see why people get so
YouTube
caught
drama
up in
is any kind of drama, and I'm way beyond any drama. Like, even at work, which is kind of funny.
I think we're both in that.
Yeah, it's just stupid.
And the funny thing is, like, when you're at that level, it's like people just think you're insensitive.
Right? Yeah. But it's like, because, so at work, there's this little situation between this one girl and this other guy.
Is this what you're going to tell me? Because you said you were going to tell me
something. No, that one's different. I'll get to that. But basically, there's this chick and this Filipino guy.
Oi!
And he's a little bit of a fob,
Oh, poor
but
guy.
he's not ugly, but also I wouldn't say that he's attractive. Number one, that's gay, but also two, it's just he doesn't strike me as that. Okay. But he does strike me as he does strike me as the kind of guy who's kind of full of himself. Okay. Anyways, there was a bit of drama between the two. There was like something between him and this other girl, and then the girl that complained to me had some falling out or something. Anyways, long story short, she comes to me with the drama.
Alert.
And I immediately tell her, like, yo, listen, I'll listen to you. I'll give you advice. I'll try to help you out. I'm also going to call you out if I think that you're doing something wrong. But also, just keep in mind that at the end of the day, I do not care about any sort of drama ever. So I'm going to still talk to him, and he and I are still going to hang out. You can take that as a mean thing, or you could just take it as, I just don't care.
Is that high school thing where it's like, oh, I have beef with that person. Why are you talking to him?
Something like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, that brings me back.
I think fortunately, I try to be a decent person.
How old are they?
I think she's like 25 or 26, and he's 35.
I mean, I guess but still, like you don't see that anymore. At least in your case.
Yeah, right. In my case, for sure. I have come to understand that you will find stupidity and drama in every workplace ever, but. Unless you're doing Uber, in which case the only drama that you have is between a customer and then it's
asking you about your political opinion.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so like with that whole thing it's just like I'm gonna listen to you because I'll give you that much respect as a human. Right. I don't actually care though, and also I'm still gonna hang out with him because I don't care. If he's a piece of junk human being to me, then fine, we'll deal with that as the time comes. But I don't take sides just because
you don't like him.
Yeah, it's just dumb. So. People. It's all junior high and high school, no matter how old you get.
Essentially, I don't think anyone actually grows up. They just kind of stay in a mindset. The only thing that ever changes is the number next to your birth certificate.
Yeah. Like, I personally, and I think I might have mentioned this to you before, just in casual conversation, like, I have noticed that I look at people as children. Not in a demeaning way. Like, I'm not looking down on them.
Epstein? Oh, I love my little girls.
Make me feel so good. Okay. No, not like Epstein. But in a sense, like, because, like, for me, myself, I have grown. I have learned things. I've taken on more responsibilities. I've been through a lot of crap or whatever. But at the same time, I am still very much the kid I was back in, like, junior high and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at you... Oh, jeez. I actually don't see the 28 or 29. 29.
I'm still 28.
28-year-old Jan. I don't see that. I see the Jan that I met back in, like, what was it? Junior high, high school?
8th grade, I think.
Yeah. So that's the Jan that I see. And it's the same thing even with like my parents and all that kind of stuff. Like anybody, because in my mind, as kind of like dumb and gay as it is, I kind of see everybody as a child because like, well, wait, you were once my age. You once had dreams and aspirations. You once had your own goals. You know, like all of that. So I don't like in some ways that might be a bad thing, but I feel like it kind of helps because like we're just people, you know. Some of us are more scummy
people
than others.
Are people so
what would it be? Something rather something
you and I should get. Wait, what?
Where are you going with that?
No, you and I should get together oftenly.
Oh, well, I don't remember. Sorry, okay.
You know, honestly, I thought it was
people
like...
are people, so...
That guy's just trying to get laid, pretty much. The lyrics, like, I look back and, oh, it's about equality. No, he's just trying to get his dick wet.
Yeah, that's the 80s, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, yeah, no, I just try to remember that we're all human beings. We all were children at once. We all were fairly innocent, you know, or at least ignorant. And, you know, like... just calm down. You know, like, hey, if someone comes up and stabs like your wife or your mom, okay, maybe screw that person.
What? But, we went to 0 to 100.
Right. Well, but that's
we're talking about childhood.
That's the way my
inner child.
That's the way my mind works. You would have to do something so terribly evil to me for me to actually care. But in general, I just don't.
I believe you.
I just don't care.
We keep getting off topic, but you need to tell me what you needed to tell me.
Oh, no self-help.
No, well, you said you had to tell me something. You're gonna wait for the podcast for.
So I thought it was interesting.
We'll end it here because we're already an hour in, dude.
Oh shoot! All right. Basically, I was over. So last week when you had to cancel on the recording.
Yeah, I had work.
Went down to Little Tokyo because I haven't been there since I got back from Alaska earlier in the year.
Okay.
And had a good time. Everything was fun. Was out there with a couple cousins of mine. And at around 10 p.m. or whatever, like we had been noticing that there were like cop helicopters around pretty frequently, so we thought that was kind of weird. But at around 10, we start walking down First Street towards the police headquarters station place or whatever that is. Right across the street from like the courthouse. And we noticed that there was a bunch of news vans and whatnot. And then we noticed that in front of the station, there's a bunch of cops lined up in like semi-riot gear. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then I immediately look over across the street, and there's a freaking gathering of like just people. Some looked pretty Antifa-like.
Antifa, huh?
But I don't think they were all Antifa, but they definitely had a very...
I have a feeling I know where this is going, but keep going.
It might not actually be. But anyways, so I immediately am like, ooh, let's go. And my two cousins, who usually I would not associate with being down with that kind of stuff, were actually down to go. So we go over to the group, and they're, shouting.
You should have filmed it, man.
I know. I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, the first thing in my mind is be in the moment,
Yeah,
that's but I do want to be.
I'm in the same boat.
I got to try to do that more often. But
maybe like 10 minutes is enough.
So anyways, go over there and listening to them cry about their gay things.
Well, what were they protesting about?
So this was right after the one that happened in Wisconsin.
Was it Jacob Blake? David Blake? Hold on, let me double check.
Probably not David Blake, because I'm pretty sure that's a famous person.
Jacob Blake. Yeah.
And so they're doing all that thing. Oh,
hey,
cops.
Peaceful protesters, man.
Who? Oh, okay, I gotcha.
I'm just joking.
Anyway, so just complaining about police brutality and that they will not tell us what to do.
How big was the group?
I would say probably at least 60 or 80, so not super huge,
that's a
but
decent gathering.
Yeah.
Though.
And
especially how recent the event was.
Yeah. So I was kind of I stood there listening, kind of interested by it, kind of laughing at the same time, and then all of a sudden they ditch the megaphone, and they're saying we're gonna be sending out 3 scouts in about 5 minutes, blah blah whatever.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Sounds like they're going to war.
Right? And I'm like, scouts, what the hell? So I'm like, that's really intriguing. I wonder what that entails. And I'm like, oh, I wonder who might like that information. So I was like, you're all faggots. And then I crossed the street to the cops. And I just went to a few of them and was like, hey, I don't really know exactly what it means, but just thought you guys might want to know. They're talking about sending 3 scouts out in about 5 minutes. Again, don't know what that is, but thought maybe you guys might need that or would like that information.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of them were like, yeah, no, actually that, we'll send that up to the whatever.
The chief or whatever.
So that was that. And start walking down, planning on just, walking around L.A. But then near the end of the block where the station is, I'm like, you know what? You want to, to my cousins, I'm like, you want to stick around and see what happens? And they're like, yeah, sure. So we popped the squat right there at the end of the block. And we were just kind of talking, just the 3 of us. And then all of a sudden this Hispanic kid comes over. And, he's wearing a mask and whatnot. Kind of looks a little gangster, but not really. Almost like the pretty boy gangster type. And he's like, hey, man, what's going down or whatever. So we start telling him what's going on because I guess he saw it while he was driving and was curious. So we start talking about it. And I think he asked first, like, so you guys a part of it or something? And I'm like, oh, hell no. And he goes, oh, well, you're not down with that stuff? And I'm like, absolutely not. And that just kind of opened up the floodgates of opinions and stuff.
Oh, gosh. So, did he start just going off?
No, actually. So I was discussing the fact that, hey, as a brown skin, I think this is all stupid, and my opinions on, like, hey, these guys, they have some legitimate concerns. There are cops that are murderers. There are cops that are terrible scumbag human beings. That is true, and they should be dealt with. But the correct solution is not to get rid of the police,
It's just a few bad batches.
Yeah.
Like, just a few.
And even if it was more than a few, it's still not the appropriate reaction to be, get rid of the police.
No, we need the police. Come on.
And
that's why I'm buying a gun right now. Come on, guys.
Yeah. And, stuff about Trump, stuff about whatever, and going on and on. We're talking like a good 15, 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So then he started talking to my cousins, and I turn over because I wanted to ask one of the cops something. I was probably going to see if this was happening because it was weird. Like we in LA, it's been kind of chill, like after the riots, it kind of died off.
No, it's like coming up again.
Yeah. So I was curious. I was going to go and ask him like, hey, how long has this been going on? Anyway, so I start walking over to him, and about like maybe 5 feet away, he looks over at me and then points at his head and gives me a little nod. And I'm like, I'm not sure what that means exactly. And I'm like, am I going to get in trouble? And he goes, not that I was eavesdropping or anything, but I agreed with everything you said. And I'm like, oh, snap, really? Like, that's kind of cool. Like, even the whole cop part. And he's like, yeah, no, it's true, man. And so then that was kind of interesting. So then he and I started talking. And basically, we were there for a good hour and 45 minutes talking with this cop. And during the conversation, like three or four other cops also came over. One of them also joined in the conversation. Mm-hmm. The other ones were just listening, but they all came closer. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we started talking about, society and how stupid things are, how people are so easily manipulated by using emotions, the lack of true education, whether it be academia or just in the current situation of things. We started talking about what could be probable solutions and all this kind of stuff. And he, like midway, he looks over at me and he's like, because again, remember, there's a bunch of like news vans and stuff. And he looks at me and he goes, why aren't you talking to the media? And I'm like, a little bit inside, like my child part, is like, ooh, yay, cop thinks I'm cool, But
I'm surprised they didn't try to push you to the.
Yeah, it was just, but so because they pointed their cameras over towards our direction a couple times.
I guarantee you they're probably going to edit that out.
Well, yeah, they probably couldn't hear from
depending on the news station, I suppose.
But the thing that I told him is that I was like, listen, honestly, it's a little bit crazy for me because I don't necessarily want to be in the spotlight, but I would not, I wouldn't reject the opportunity. Mm-hmm. But there was one other time, and I forget how long ago it was, but it was a few years ago. But I told him I have one experience with the media, and that is they screen you before they put you on. If they don't like what you have to say, you're not, then they'll just go to somebody else.
Oh, you told them that?
Yeah. And I told them, maybe not every news channel does it that way, but from what I've seen at least, from what I've experienced, That's what they do. They screen you first, then they put you on. And he goes, yeah, no, actually that kind of makes sense. I didn't even consider that, and all this kind of stuff. So it was kind of cool that he thought you should be out there or whatever. But it was an awesome conversation. He started talking to us about certain things that were going down with as far as like, you know, when you grow up as a kid and you're one of those kids that like, oh, I want to be a cop when I grow up.
Oh yeah,
you want to be a cop because you want to stop crime.
You want to be good. You want to do good.
You don't want to become a cop to impound someone's car because the registration expired or something like that, you know. And he's like, that stuff pisses him off, and a lot of other people in the police force. You know, which goes to you know, kind of solidify the whole thing, which is not all cops are scumbags. Some are legitimately trying to help the community, help people.
Yeah.
But
I mean, segue, like, you know, that YouTube page, Police Activity. I did see a clip of a cop, drunk driver going the opposite direction, veers his car in front of the drunk driver to stop it from hitting a civilian vehicle. Like, stuff like that happens. Yeah. But the thing is, the media doesn't report on it.
I don't care about that.
I just don't understand, why would you... Like, these people are trying to protect us. Why go out of your way to, you know, defame them? Yeah. Make them look like the bad guy.
Do what needs to be done. You got a cop who's abusing his powers, get rid of him. You have a cop who should not have, in any way, shape, or form, unloaded an entire magazine's worth of lead into a person who is running away from them. Charge him for murder. But it should be a case-by-case basis. It should never be this, because again, even with the race thing, you immediately start saying, oh, white people this, white people that. You're maybe there are some white racists, obviously. Maybe there are some rich white people who don't deserve their riches. But if you just take those few people and put their blame on the entirety of everyone else, then that's racist. That's wrong. And the same thing can be said with any other ethnicity. And when you're dealing with an organization like, you know, with a police department, it's also wrong to associate the wrongdoings of the actual terrible people and then blame the entirety. You know, that never fixes anything. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be the wrong answer. So, yeah. Anyways, it was just a super pleasant...
So how did that... Well, how did it end? Sorry.
Basically, they
never try to push you to be on the media. Because honestly, like...
Because
here's the thing I'm going to say is... You're a voice tied to a minority that won't essentially say these things. So it's definitely like a culture shock to everyone on the left.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, which is why... Do you remember my Antifa, like, friend from recent memory? He's like, oh, you're Hispanic and you support Trump? Like, dude.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Oh, man.
I did tell that to him, you know, which is, like, I was like, you know, that's part of the reason why I wouldn't deny the opportunity. Because, and that's part of the reason why I am so... public and outgoing about my views and my opinions and stuff, because like I told the cop, I'm sick and tired of seeing white people be the ones that are saying all the things.
What ethnicity was this cop? I'm kind of curious. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a white guy, and also former Army, I think. So that also kind of sort of helps things, I suppose.
Dude, those are our demographics, man.
Yeah,
that's our background.
Yeah,
just hardworking, blue collar Americans.
But so anyways, and I told him, you know, I'm sick of white people being the ones in the spotlight, and then all of a sudden they get labeled as racists and all these different things and get beaten up for having the same beliefs that I have. So I want to be that person. So that way you, aka the stupid idiot liberal people, will at least if it's just a moment's hesitation because my skin ain't brown, my skin ain't white, then good. Maybe that might be the seed to cause you to think, oh, maybe we are idiots, you know? So I did tell him that, and like I said, he did really wish I could be on you know, one of those news channels.
Oh man!
But like I said, after I told him though about the whole thing with you know, the screening process, and they will have you on if they want you on. If they don't like what you have to say, then they don't have you on.
I'm gonna assume, and it's alright. The moment's passed already, but if I kind of wish I was there. I would have pushed you, man. You know me.
Maybe.
I would have pushed. I I normally don't go out of my way. I'm not normally that guy that doesn't want to talk. But if I was in that situation, I would tell the cop, you know what, this is not a bad idea. If you have the pull, then, whatever media outlet would be willing to take you.
But that's the whole thing,
exactly what you're saying. But let's just say if you had the pull or maybe a source that would allow you to present your thoughts.
Well,
or just YouTube drop our page. Hey, why don't you just share this among...
I have a feeling it won't be the last time that I'm in a scenario like that. I didn't even consider going up and asking any of the freaking 5 or 6 different news people that were there, can they be on? Because that's just not the way my brain works. But, maybe if there's a next time, I could be a little bit more pursuant of that.
Watch you become the next, what was that kid? You're that kid with the MAGA hat?
Yeah.
I forgot the kid's name. Nick Salmon or something like that.
That was the one where they thought he was being a dick to the Indian guy,
but then he ended up getting...
actually the Indian guy being a dick.
Getting $80 million on a defamation lawsuit from CNN. Hey, you're the highest paid CNN employee now.
Yep, there you go.
And he's not even a Democrat.
Ridiculous. You know what I would have done?
What?
I don't know exactly what the net worth of CNN is, but if it was anything around a decent ballpark, after I got the $80 million, I'd buy up the majority of their stocks. So I take over CNN.
That's smart. That's 4D chess, as I call it. Well, anything else you want to add to that story?
No, basically it ended with the protesters or whatever going on their march.
Did they do anything?
So the cops thought they were going to go and just face off, but they ended up not. They went down.
Did they loot
Spring Street? They didn't loot. So we continued to talk to the cops once the group already left.
Okay.
And on the radio, they mentioned that a couple windows had been broken on a hotel somewhere on 7th and Grand, I think.
Oh my gosh.
It was freaking hilarious, though, because they were kind of listening, quietly to the first report. And I hear the two cops, they're like, must have been some racist windows. And freaking everybody that was around us started cracking up. It was freaking hilarious.
Racist windows.
But it was cool, though, because, like I said, we continued to talk. They ended up being told by their sergeant to be mobile, so they had to go and pace up and down and stuff, which is when we
broke off.
But it was cool, though, because even that Hispanic guy who initially came over to us, he stood around the entire time. Mm-hmm. And even was starting to agree with certain things. I can kind of see that. I never thought about it that way, and blah blah blah. It was just a very awesome, wholesome conversation. 1 hour and 45 minutes, not short, but it felt.
We need more of those moments.
We do. And here's the thing, for anybody who's listening, who might be on the same lines as we are, but you've, I don't know, maybe felt shy or scared or nervous or anxious, or maybe it's not your place to speak up. I would encourage you to get rid of that mindset. Sure, maybe don't walk into a random group of people and immediately start shouting your beliefs. But if the time is right,
you got to tell that to the other
end. Yeah. But if you see the opportunity, speak up.
Oh yeah,
sure. There's a risk nowadays, especially, but
what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is people are afraid of what people think of them. Yeah. They don't want to be labeled anything that they don't think they are. But the thing is, it's you have to say.
I've legit been labeled a Nazi. Ninja, I'm not even white. I am very brown, gingerbread brown, which is nice. But still, I'm like, what? A Nazi?
I've been called. I think the worst thing that I've been called is they've called me a racist ball of energy.
Almost kind of cool.
The ball of energy part.
But can you imagine physically a racist ball of energy?
No, I'm not gonna say it. It's like a power-up move. Anyways, that's the worst thing I've been called.
Yeah.
So that was a good story to end up, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you saved it. If anything, I wish we just stayed on that topic.
True. You can always touch on it.
And I'm kind of disappointed. Like, if there was any a situation that I'd want to be in, I would like to be there. Because, what I'm exposed to is through a lens.
Yeah.
To a TV monitor, to a computer monitor.
Yeah.
I'm never actually on the ground to see these things. Mainly because I'm a pussy.
You have a track record, I will admit.
No, but I would say lately I've been more bold about my opinions.
Yeah.
And you just have to be.
Honestly, it would
the silent majority is no longer.
It would have been cool if you were there because I did not.
I was working. Unfortunately.
I know. I did not go down there.
You know what? I was working in LA though. If only you hit me up, I probably would have come with my scrubs. I'm like, you want my opinion? I'll be on the news. I'm in scrubs. You can put doctor.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But no, it would have been interesting because, like I said, we didn't go down there with any sort of expectation of coming across that stuff.
Can you imagine that we almost became cops? You closer than me, obviously, but we were in the process. I just figured. Oh, thank God! I'm kind of glad nothing against being a police officer. What you guys do is hard, but I'm kind of glad that I dropped out because I would have been a weak link to you guys, and that's just me being honest.
Yeah.
I probably would have shot at least 12 people by now.
I'm definitely along the same lines.
He looked at me.
He's still looking at me. Let me shoot him 10 more times. But sir, he's dead. But anyways,
that's a joke.
Obviously. But good conversation. And good whiskey. Dang, that's good whiskey. It's not as smooth as I was hoping it was going to be.
No, but if anything, it's closer to a traditional Scottish type.
Traditional, sure.
I got a speech impediment. No, it's closer to a traditional type of Scottish whiskey.
It's very
close to Macallan if you think about it.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Or more of a Glenfiddich.
I haven't had Glenfiddich in so long, so I can't even remember. Oh, yeah, but I will say it is very similar to Macallan. The only difference is not
Macallan price.
And also not as smooth. Macallan is a little bit smoother than this one.
Okay, so it's closer to a Glenfiddich, I'd say. Well, anyways, hey, good story, man. I enjoyed that very much, actually.
Don't get too excited.
Oi! I'm kidding. All right, anyways, closing remarks?
Nothing. I got nothing, buddy. Just hopefully we can keep pumping these out as often as we can. Oh, we have a SoundCloud now, so for those of you who might be interested in that, look us up. We are Dead Lemons PC on SoundCloud.
Nothing PC about us, though.
No, PC, in case anybody was wondering, does not stand for politically correct. It's just podcast.
We could always do Dead Lemons IPC. Well, no, it's PIC, sorry.
What are you
politically incorrect. I butchered that.
Yeah, he's good at that.
All right, so anything else you want to say?
No, shoot.
All right, well, ladies and gents, we're at the end of our episode. Thank you for listening, and you guys all have a great night. Keep on chugging.
Have a good one.